going on, YouTubers? This is Zen here from Zenmultiverse, and I hope you're having a great day. So, we are covering HaHa #1. Now, let me just say, this is one of my favorite series next to Ice Cream Man when it comes to psychological thrillers or just insight into trials and tribulations, and that is what this is, right? So, we're introduced to a character named Bart. Now, Bart is just a guy who just goes through quite a bit, right? He's at his ends meet where he works at a carnival, right? Called Funville, and basically he's talking about the possibility of it shutting down. Now, his wife is basically just bringing him down and making him feel bad about pretty much everything, right? But he is a person who basically sees light in pretty much everything, and he says he's very lucky, lucky enough to have a wife, lucky enough to have kids, and lucky enough to just have light, right? Even though it's funny enough that the light does go out during that first couple of scenes, but when he goes to Funville, he realizes from his manager that lo and behold, they are closing down on Funville. And he gets his last check, and his boss says basically don't trust anyone. So he sees one of his best friends out there named Phil. And Phil is talking to him, and then out of nowhere, Phil just hits him in the back of his head, right? And says, basically, I'm taking your money. So he gives him the wallet and he throws it back. But, Bart, or Bartley in his clown makeup. Bartley basically has a bit of cash in his right leg, right, or by his socks. Now, again, a lot of things are happening to Bart, so then he goes on to the bank, right, because he basically wants to deposit the check that he's received. That's gonna pretty much hold him over for the month. But then when he gets there, the more challenges, trials and tribulations happen because the bank is being robbed. So at this point, he's just like, he's done, right? He's just like, I can't anymore, right? So they're basically saying, get down, and he's just like, I think I won't. Right? Because he's just been going through so much, right? He thinks his wife is going to leave him. He lost his job. He got robbed by his best friend. And now these robbers are trying to kill him. So they basically say, "Hey, if you don't get down, I'm going to shoot you right between your head." And you know what happens? They do. And something miraculous happens, right? Don't think he's gonna get superpowers or anything like that, but he gets shot perfectly in the middle of his head, and he's kind of going through this kind of cerebral cortex based of um, dialogue, right, or slowing down the death itself, and he's coming to the realization using profound wording and things of that nature that he could basically see just images that he normally wouldn't see, right? His outlook on life is getting different, right? It's coinciding with what he originally said when it came to he's so lucky, right? He's a lucky person. Things could get worse, and even though at this point it seems like it's worse, he gains a new insight, right? So I think part of his cerebral cortex, or even his functioning, gets better at this point. So he falls to the ground, and basically the robbers are, basically saying like, you really killed him, and he's like, yeah, it was pretty easy. And he's telling everyone else, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, then you're next, right? So this is pretty interesting in itself, because then what happens next is then Bartley, or Bart, gets up, and he's doing one of his tricks, like his endless handkerchief technique that he basically used when he first worked at Funville, the carnival. And he's kind of just wrapping it around their neck. He's kind of like taking them down. And again, I think that he's in a constant state of fight or flight right now, but it's more in the fight sense, right? Since he's been shot in the middle of his head, it's turned off some form of executive function. We're not too sure which one, right? Because he goes through it could be that or the cerebellum, such forth. But anyway, he helps basically to uh, catch the robbers, right? Or the robbers. And the police come in and basically wrap it up, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And they're like, "You're one of the luckiest guys on earth." And he's like, "Yeah." He said, "I always knew that, right?" So he tells the personnel like, can I just go home? He wants to just go home. And what he sees next is pretty interesting, right? He sees versions of everything that seems to be like fun versions, right? He sees his friend who robbed him, Phil, and he sees the daughter too, and things of that nature. And he's just taken a different outlook, right? His mentality that he had is matching what he sees, right? Even his family look totally different. They almost look like dolls, which could be creepy in this sense, but we're looking at a man who's been through so much throughout his life, or even in this one day, and he is now what what I could take away from this book is that you have to be grateful for everything that you have. Things can get constantly worse, but you can't give up on the life that you have just because it seems gloom and doom. So that's the end of this book for HaHa number one. All of the books are pretty much like this, where there's some sort of lesson or disturbing premise that leads into a bigger understanding. Now the next one is one of my favorite ones, so I can't wait to do it. But with that being said, this is Zen from Zen Multiverse saying peace, love, and prosperity. If you're enjoying the content, drop a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to see more storytime videos like this with HaHa or other stories. All right, everyone, take care. Later.